Good evening. My name is Danny Williams. I'm City Administrator. I want to welcome you all this evening and thank you for taking the time and the energy to come out on such a challenging evening. We thought about whether or not we should, postpone this, but your attendance tonight verifies we made the right decision to push forward. So thank you again for coming out. We're going to talk this evening about the future Cumberland Pool. I've been a long-time resident of Cleveland Heights and have very fond memories of the pool. But some of us, not all of us, but some of us are showing our age. And sometimes we need to take appropriate steps in light of that. And I think Cumberland Pool is no different. So we want to gather information from you this evening to help us think through what the future of Cumberland Pool should be. You'll hear shortly, I'll be handing it off to Director Ledbetter, and we want to get your reactions to some of the options that we have narrowed it down to, and we want your feedback. I can't guarantee you that everybody in this room will be satisfied with the outcome of that, but we value your opinions and the use you would like to see made of this important asset. And so it's really important for us to hear from you and to get your thoughts on this. So with that, I'm going to turn it over. I won't be able to stay for the entire program, but I'm going to turn it over to Director Ledbetter, and he'll give you an idea how we're going to go about this process and a little bit more information. So thank you again for being here.
Thank you, Administrator. I have been involved in Parks and Recreation for a number of years now, and I got to tell you, this is the fun part. This is exciting for us here in the city and in this department. You all have been utilizing Cumberland for, maybe not everybody in this room, but close to 100 years. And so I think it's time, and I think you might agree with that. Thank you for coming. We're glad that you're here. So, and we'll talk a little bit about the process as we go along. We may have you put some dots up at some of our options, but I want everybody to understand that we're not going to look at the number of dots and then make a decision based on that. We're going to look at your, listen to your feedback and, kind of get a gauge from where you put your dots and help that will help us, kind of making a decision as we go forward. But I will tell you that currently Cumberland is having some challenges. There's some leaks. Our heating system is not the best it could be. We will ensure that we will have a season in 2024. So you don't have to be. Absolutely. You don't have to be concerned with that. And we're going to be repairing some cracks this spring in the surface and doing a few other items. But we will promise that we'll have swimming this year. So I'm going to introduce our engineering firm that we're working with, GPD. They are partnering with a very reputable pool contractor and WTI Water Technologies, who have worked on pools across the United States. GPD has managed aquatic facilities locally and regionally quite a number of times as well. So I'll let him tell you a little bit about his firm and how he's gone about this feasibility study that we're doing right now. But Jason Nolde is with GPD, and with further ado, I would like Jason to come up and give his presentation.
All right, thank you for the introduction, and good evening, everybody. Can't think of a better day to talk about swimming, right? All right, so I'm going to start with a little bit of introduction about our firm and myself, and then I'll go through a little bit of the history of and some of the initial studies that we've done for the Cumberland Pool. And I think the intent of tonight's presentation is really to get some feedback. The feedback that we've gotten so far is through Kelly and his team, and I think that he has a good pulse at what's going on, but ultimately we want to make sure that we're capturing what the community needs and what the community could really use. As we start to look at, as Kelly has outlined, the need to replace the pool itself, the guts of the pool, the equipment and the shell, as we start to upgrade it, let's think about it holistically. This is the right time to potentially make some modifications if that is appropriate to better serve the community, to potentially broaden some of the activities that we could offer at Cumberland Pool. So a little bit about ourselves here. Myself, I'm a project manager with GPD Group, so I'm located in downtown Cleveland. I'm part of the public building sector at GPD. Currently, or have recently completed projects with Mayfield Heights, with the City of Aurora, City of Bedford, City of Brooklyn, just to name a few. Those are all aquatic projects here that we're referencing. So the Mayfield Heights one you might see off the 271 there, it's pretty prominent there. GPD, we do, we're actually headquartered in Akron, but we're an employee-owned full-service firm, so that means we have all of the engineers and architects, all of the disciplines in-house, which is nice for me. But we do everything from transportation, water, education, and as myself, we do public buildings. So I work with a lot of the local municipalities in the area. As Kelly indicated, we are working with WTI as well. They're the largest aquatics design firm that's in North America. We've worked with the projects that I just mentioned. WTI was involved in those as well. So they're the ones that help kind of put together some of these layouts that we'll present to you. So as I indicated, we came up with, I guess, what we can call some thought starters to the process here. These are in no means intended to try to be the final solutions, but it's a means to start to get some feedback from the group. So to start with the existing layout that we have there, we currently have a single pool. It's 50 meters in length, and it has, essentially it's a lap pool that we have with the diving well on the one end. And then to the south there, we have the existing toddler pool, which currently wasn't, as of last season, wasn't functional. So when we look at the different options that we're going to present, one of them is to just maintain the layout as you see currently, restore it, bring it up to current standards from an equipment and pool configuration standpoint. But we would not change the configuration itself. We would maintain what we have there. So option 2 starts to address the comment that I made earlier about if we're going to reconfigure the pool itself, if we're going to bring new equipment, this is the time to start to think about whether we should bring new program features to the pool as well. And one of the things when we compare the pool layout to some of the other municipalities that we're working with that feels like could be offered here or is potentially missing is some of the areas that addresses toddler and family swimming. And so for option number 2, what we're trying to introduce is the idea of a zero depth pool. At the end of the presentation here, I'll show you some images that show kind of examples of what we're talking about so you can visualize that a little bit better. But essentially that's going to be sloping from 0 to approximately 3'6" in depth. So that gives an ability for toddlers and early swimmers to get more comfortable with it. I think with all these options too, we're looking at addressing the ability to bring some shade to the deck as well, so that we have a variety of sun and shade, again, to give flexibility in terms of what we can offer. With all of these options as well, what we are going to be recommending is that we pull the equipment out from the basement of the existing pool house. And then, as you can see there, we're proposing currently towards the southeast portion to make a new mechanical room. That will make equipment easier to access and service going forward versus located in the basement of the existing building. The area then to the left would remain very similar to what we have now. That would be the lap swimming that we had from before. But again, it would be a single pool that has a variety of options available. And then concept option number 3 presents the idea of 2 independent pools. So with this one, the flexibility that we're gaining is that we can now run the pools at 2 separate temperatures. For lap swimming, typically we're going to want to run that at a cooler temperature than the family pool. The family pool will typically want to run a little bit warmer. It also gives us some flexibility in terms of if there's a need to shut down a pool temporarily, that we still have something to offer at all times. So what you can see here then is we've got the lap pool to the right, and then more of a family-oriented pool to the left. So with the family-oriented pool, we still have that 0 to depth pool that we were talking about in terms of tapering it from 0 to about 3'6". And then we also have incorporated, which again, I'll show some images to it, some more activities in that pool, including potentially basketball or rock climbing as an example. I think one of the things that when we look at trying to lay out, if we're looking at doing new pools, we'd like to have that 0 depth pool be the first kind of water feature that you see as you walk in, so that if there is a toddler that runs off, from a safety standpoint, that's the first point of water that they encounter. So I'll go through some examples, and then we can turn it over and take questions as we go. This gives you some example of the 0 depth entry that we're talking about. So again, the ability for toddlers to sort of just splash in very shallow water and start to get comfortable with it. We would look to incorporate some water features like you see here, whether it be some spray features or some toy activities that go along with it. And then potentially with the family pool, incorporating a shade structure that's within the area. So again, you have both sun and shade within the pool area. With the toy features themselves, if that was something we're looking to incorporate with the family pool, those come in a variety of different sort of shapes and have different features that go along with it. Typically what we like to try to do is find a theme that maybe the community can help us determine that really represents Cleveland Heights, and would start to integrate that into the family pool. And then some of the activities that we talked about with the last slide there, the image to the right there, lower right, shows you an example of water basketball that we could offer, again, to try to expand sort of the the range and the reach of patrons that might utilize the pool. And again, so each one of these is presented in a manner to really try to get some feedback. I don't think we have any strong preference on any of those, and I'd like to hear from you in terms of what you feel like might be best.
Thank you, Jason. It's been great working with you. I did want to take this opportunity to introduce our Parks Board that does a lot for us throughout the year, and they're helping us with this forum and this session. Maybe you can raise your hand, but our chairperson, Peter Titus, Alex Pesta, who's been working very closely with me on this project. Adam Dew is in the house. Debbie Auerbach Brown, Lenore Cruz Price, Mike Payne is somewhere here, Peggy Spaeth, Tom Hotchkiss Lilly, and I don't believe Joe D'Amato is with us, but he's one of our school representatives. So we're going to do this a little bit different. We're not going to sort of go around the room with this mic, but what we are going to do is engage you at each of the stations. So Jason and myself will be sort of floating between the three options. We'll give you some dots, like I mentioned earlier, to kind of put your preference where you know, which option that you like, which concept. And one of the things I forgot to mention about the existing pool is we do anticipate having the toddler pool back up for 2024 also. I knew that would get it. We also do anticipate having another feedback session. Not quite sure what kind of form that will take. It may be another one of these. It may be an online opportunity. But we do want to hear from you again once we get a little bit closer to the end of this process. So at this